How long have you lived in Charlestown?
A year and a half.
Okay. And what were your motivations for moving here?
I had taken the commuter rail from Southborough to South Station to the T to Kendall Square and walked to work. It was about an hour and a half each way. I did that about 4 years, and that got old in about 3 weeks. So I basically moved here to be closer to work. I can walk to work now.
How is you can walk now? How long does it take?
It's about 25 minutes each way.
That's nice. Do you feel like you are blending into the community yet, or are you still?
Well, one of the first things that happened was our next door neighbors tried to do a building project that the whole street was against. And so within about a month of moving in, I met every single neighbor on the street. It's a mix of people my age, like mid-30s, that moved in the past like 2 years or so, and then there's a bunch of neighbors. There's a bunch of neighbors that have been living there since the mid-70s. So it's a mix of the recent additions to Charlestown and the people who have been here forever.
Yeah. Can you tell me about what the project was? Just out of
They were taking a house with a fairly small footprint, and they were trying to turn it into a Wellesley mansion. Try to add something like 2,500 square feet additional to the back, which I have a garden in the back of my yard, and it was going to block my. Well, it's all what air and light rights that everybody has, and needless to say, their project's done. It went up, and nothing we could really do to stop it. But I did get to meet all the neighbors.
That's nice. Did you do any background research on the community before you moved in?
Good question. I basically narrowed it down to Cambridge or Charlestown. Charlestown was a late addition. All I knew about Charlestown was the movie, and I had heard it wasn't so hot. I drove through Sullivan Square a few years ago and was not impressed. And then I just decided to look at one house because I heard it was nice, and I was blown away by how magnificent the entire neighborhood was. But my initial feedback from other people is that it wasn't nice, and then until I saw it, it wasn't a duck boat. I had never done that before, but I drove around the monument, and I just couldn't believe how historic the houses were and things like that.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between Sullivan Square and the residential area here.
Definitely. It's like Sullivan Square over there, and then the Constitution and the waterfront over there, and the varying degrees as you go every couple blocks. It's a complete mix.
Do you feel like there's a strong Irish culture here more than other places in Boston? That you've noticed? If not,
yes, the townies, so to speak, or the people who have been living here their entire lives are almost completely Irish, but I don't think in any way does it compare to how Irish South Boston is. Still a little less. I would not, first thing in my mind if I were to describe Charlestown, would not be Irish, even though there's plenty.
Okay. And do you notice a shift in the community towards more Latino population recently?
I heard about that, but I have no experience with it. When I was looking at houses in April or May of 2011, I looked at a few up near the monument, and I saw Latino families in the neighborhood, but there's none on my street, literally none. I understand that more and more are moving in, but I don't really notice. It's not like if Charlestown's white or black or Latino. It's such a mix. I don't really notice that there's more or less Latino at this point.
Okay. Do you notice any major boundaries in parts of the community that are different? There's this sort of housing project here versus the older buildings.
Well, there's only one real separation, and it's not just the projects or whatever they call this neighborhood. my street, I live over on the other side near Old Rutherford. I'm near Bunker Hill Community College and the hockey rink over there. So my townhouse was built in 1830, but you go about 5 doors down, and it's another little community like this, but it's for elderly. It's for the elderly. And so Charlestown is like, I don't know, in my experience, it's all fairly similar with the townhouses, and some are brick, some aren't. And they just have this mixture in of these 3-story, or at least on my street they're 2-story, but it's 2 3-story brick column projects, but really it's just low-income housing, and it's mixed in so well you can't really tell that it's there.
Okay, that's great. Can you think of anything?
I think you mostly covered it. There was one question about schools, if you had looked into any, and the kind of people that go there.
That situation's a complete disaster. So, my daughter is going to school in Westboro, near when she stays with her mother. She was supposed to go to school here. They recommend you put down 5 choices. So I'm not familiar with this. Everywhere I've ever lived, they draw a line in some shape around a school, and everybody inside that line goes to that school. Here, I put down 3 choices, not 5. I put down the Warren Prescott, which is here. Elliott School is in the north end, and then the Quincy School or something else. But anyway, she didn't get a spot on any of them. I think the closest we got after lots of people dropped out of the list we were number 18 on the wait list. So because that happened, we weren't going to send her to a private school, so the only choice we had was she goes to school 30 miles west of the city. So it is kind of a shame that you can't get into, like, you're not guaranteed to get into the school right around the corner, or at least one of the schools, like one of the 3 schools within the neighborhood. But the only school they could get, I got a call for it, the only school they could get her into was one in the south zone or the north zone. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. So that's my experience. It's kind of a shame, but apparently ours is not the only case. A lot of people can't get into the school right around the corner.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think it's like, I'm from the suburbs too, so I'm like, yeah, you just go to your town school.
Yeah.
But you think maybe like having more options is a good thing, but
yeah.
Well,
just to compare it to Cambridge, because I was looking at Cambridge, I think it's kind of the same system there, but you're at least guaranteed to get into a school. We didn't get into any school.
Yeah.
And Cambridge, you put down your list, you get into, maybe you get your top choice. I have friends in Cambridge, and for some reason they all seem to get lucky and they get their top choice. Boston is not like that. I don't know a lot of people that get their top choice here. So whatever they're doing, hopefully they'll change that system.
Okay. Well, that was really good. That was really